Hi, and welcome back to Up the Peak. I know it's been a while since I've done an actual vlog. Thank you for everyone that has been watching. Thank you for the huge support I got on the previous video. The condensed one that showed the 6-month journey and ended with the actual achievement of getting to the top of Long's Peak. That almost didn't happen. On July 28th of 2018, at 4 o'clock in the morning, 2 hours behind schedule, I arrived at Long's Peak to do what was supposed to be recon. I was only supposed to walk the lower part to the keyhole, and I was going to save the summit for another day. This was about getting my timing down to get to the keyhole to see how I would hold up physically for the easy part. Because after the keyhole is when the hike gets more challenging. I started off pretty early in the morning. It was still dark out. I was lucky enough to find a parking spot because there were already a ton of cars there. And the first couple miles I walked in utter darkness. I had a little flashlight that helped light my path ahead of me, but I really couldn't see a whole lot, couldn't show a whole lot on camera for that part. Now this was a very special day in a lot of ways, because not only was it the 6-month anniversary of my fitness journey, but sometimes the universe has a way of helping you when you need it the most. It has a way of putting the right people at the right place at just the right time. And that's what this episode is about. This is about the real heroes of Long's Peak, the people that got me to the summit on that day. The first two people I want to talk about is Casey and his fiancee, Adrian. I met this lovely couple just as we were getting maybe almost 3 miles into the walk. We decided to walk together. You know, it wasn't planned. It was just like we started kind of talking and conversing. I had the GoPro, I was getting footage, so I grabbed some shots with them. I was holding up phenomenally. We were making amazing time. I felt great. It was extraordinary. Then I got to the keyhole. Yeah, sure. I was, sweaty. I was, a little tired. I just went like 6 miles in a high altitude, pushing, pretty consistent. That wasn't what was going to stop me that day. Even though in my mind I was only going to go to the keyhole, there was a part of me that thought, well, what if I go for the summit today? So as I got to the keyhole and I took in the majestic view, I then looked down the way towards the ledges. The wind was whipping everywhere, and I'm looking at them, and all I could think is, screw that. It looked scarier than I remembered. With the wind whipping around, with it looking scarier than I remembered, I suddenly had this panic of, what have I done? Like, was my friend John right? John, who had told me weeks earlier, don't do Long's Peak. There are people counting on you. If you fail, you're going to let them down. So here I am, faced with the monster that is the last 1.5 miles of this hike, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I mean, I wasn't supposed to do it that day anyway. But I wasn't sure if I'd be able to go back there and do it. I mean, it was like crippling fear in a way. I'm looking at this thing like, all right, screw that. So I tell Casey and Adrian, I thank them. I say, this is as far as I go. I'm not going any further. And then there were these other two guys there, Brian and Blake. Brian looks at me and goes, hey man, you got this far. Just go for the summit. And I was like, no. It's not worth my life. My whole vlog, my whole journey is about like the celebration of life, getting my life back. It defeats the purpose if I fall off a mountain and die. And then Blake looks at me and says, just go 5 more feet. And it was something about the way he said it. And I looked at this guy. Obviously he was just meaning just take it a little at a time, one step at a time. And I don't know where it came from exactly. But this confidence came. This confidence just grew inside me, and I looked at those ledges and I said to myself, if I do this, there's no room for fear. I cannot be afraid out there. I just have to push forward from this point to that point and just go. I looked at these guys and I said, all right, let's do it. So then began the last 1.5 miles, the hike to the summit. It was extraordinary in so many ways because somehow I was able to cast out the fear. I mean, I respected it. I respected the mountain. I definitely took my time going from one point to the next. And it was just breathtaking, and I was holding up really well. As I got to the end of the ledges, I thought, wow, I am so close to the top, because I didn't go this far 15 years ago. In fact, when I talked about day zero there was a gap that I had to cross over. That's where I stopped and turned around. I don't know where that was exactly, because how it played out in my mind was way different than how it was when I was doing it on the 28th of July. Now, one thing I will say is I noticed, like, when you're going along the ledges, there's like an upper path almost, and like in a lower path. I think maybe I was on the lower part of it, where the more smarter would be the higher one. So that aside, I made it through the ledges. So now I was at the next stage, the trough. This was all uphill from here, climbing. This wasn't a hike anymore, this was a climb. Now don't get me wrong, it wasn't like I'm nailing things to the side of the mountain to climb up it. It was more of an incline, but it was still a climb. And I am starting to really feel it now. But I see people are already on their way down. And I'm like, am I close to the top? They're like, oh yeah, you're close. I'm like, oh, awesome. And I'm going. And it's getting closer, that first, top of this part. I'm like, okay, all right, I'm almost there. It's gotta be close to the top, right? Close to the top. So as I'm going, people are like, oh, you're almost there. And then someone else is like, yeah, once you get to the top of this, then you have to go along the narrows, and then it's the home stretch. And I was like, oh, okay. So then I get to the top of this part, and now I'm going along the narrows. And it is going on and on and on and on and on. And then I finally get to the home stretch, and there's more climbing. I'm like, holy crap. This mile and a half is without a doubt the most intense, physically demanding mile and a half I've ever done in my life. As I approached the top, my new friends stayed close by. They kept an eye on me. They checked on me, which was awesome. Not only that, as I got closer to the summit, they were up there waiting for me. Brian and Blake came down to hike with me the very last part. They had already made it to the top, but they came back down a little bit to give me more support. Brian was on camera, Blake was behind. What a great feeling it was. Not only did I have these people chanting my name to give me that extra boost, but I got greeted with a high five from Casey when I got to the top. I did my little speech about it was 6 months to the day, and it was just this awesome feeling of accomplishment. This was what I had set out to do, and I did it. I thought, my God. But this was only the halfway point. We still had to go down from the mountain. Now the footage I have covers me up until when I reach the summit. And I had my moment. I had my 360 shot. I had that great feeling of like, I did it. I achieved it. I have this amazing photo I have with these extraordinary people. Here's Blake, Brian, there's Casey, Adrian, and this is Paulina. So these 5 strangers kind of took me under their wing, which is funny because I was the old guy of the group, but still, I was definitely the one that was in like the worst possible shape physically. They're all young people in their 20s that are physically fit. Here's this 40-year-old guy who just lost 130 pounds but has another 70 or 80 pounds to go, right? So the way down, I thought the GoPro was almost dead with the battery. So like an idiot, I just hit record on the head mount and just started filming the first part of it going down. I wish I wouldn't have done that because there was a lot of great footage I could have got on the way down too. And the way down, there's even a better story in my mind. I was so slow coming off that mountain that these remarkable people stayed with me every step of the way. Because I wasn't prepared to go to the top that day, I wore my sneakers, a pair of jeans, a t-shirt, a sweatshirt, and my hat. I didn't have gloves. I didn't have like proper, clothes to wear. I did it in jeans and an oversized sweatshirt, a sweatshirt that, I got too small for months ago. So I probably looked a bit ridiculous. But they waited. They waited for me, and I felt so bad. Like, they would have been off this mountain before I probably would have got back down to the keyhole. But they were so patient. They were so kind. Blake gave me salt tablets because I didn't have any sodium with me. You know, they got me water. They had these little gel protein energy things that they gave me. Because all I brought were granola bars. I thought I was going to be out of there in a few hours. I thought I would hike to the keyhole, do my thing, and then hike back, and then, you know, call it a day. I did not imagine I would make it to the summit. These remarkable people were at the right place at the right time, gave me the right encouragement, and they got me to the top, and then they got me back down. And I am going to be forever grateful to these remarkable people. I felt so bad. I was so completely wiped out and drained. I was like, ugh, you know, even like the very last stretch, like it was like the never-ending walk. I was like, when are we getting off this mountain? When are we getting off this mountain? Like every single part of my body hurt. You know, I probably started shutting down vocally. At one point, we were getting pelted with hail, and I'm in a t-shirt getting pelted with hail. I'm just walking like, you know. But they were wonderful. They were fantastic, and I can't thank them enough for it. Day I was supposed to go up was going to be a week and a half later on August 8th. A friend was flying in from Pittsburgh on the 6th of August, and I picked him up at the airport. We were supposed to have a day to get everything together, and then the next day we were going to go for the summit. I was worried because the weather was unpredictable. I didn't know if it would happen or not because of the weather. But then something else came up that was unforeseen. On the morning of August 6th, I developed a toothache. I kind of thought I'd just brush it off, it would fade away or something. And as the day went on, it got worse and worse. When I went to pick him up from the Denver airport, it was an excruciating pain at this point. We got back to where we were staying. By that night, I was in absolute, complete, and total agony. I went to the emergency room at the VA hospital in Cheyenne, Wyoming. I had a tooth infection, an abscessed tooth is what they said it was. My face was swollen. I was on antibiotics and I was on pain medication. There was no way I was going up that mountain. I felt so bad for my friend. He flew out there on his own dime, and all he did was he flew all the way out to Denver to drive back to Pittsburgh with me in a car. I want to thank my friend. His name is Phil. Phil, I want to thank you for flying out there. I apologize we couldn't make the top of the mountain, and I want to thank you for driving back with me. There are so many people I want to thank for making this whole journey of mine possible. For starters, I want to thank my friend Robin for letting me stay at her place. I want to thank my friend John for letting me stay at his place. I want to thank my friend Joanna, my friend Carrie for sharing a meal with me. I want to thank the guy who helped me fix my car while I was on the road. He was extraordinary. I also want to thank Brian, Blake, Paulina, Casey, and Adrian. Because without the 5 of them, I would not have made it. I wouldn't have made it. Played it simple. So because of these remarkable people, I achieved it. I didn't do it alone. I was always afraid I would just do it alone. And I didn't. And that just meant the world to me. I want to thank everyone for watching. We are currently at 182 subscribers, which is pretty awesome. We're only 18 away from 200, unless I lose another subscriber. Every time I'll do a count, sometimes I'll go up one or I'll go down a couple. What are you going to do? Thank you for watching, and thanks again to all those remarkable people that helped my trip. That's going to wrap things up for this week. Join me back here next week as we resume the whole fitness journey, and we'll see where I stand. Have a great week.